Like this is a pathway. Now you
What's going
start to
on,
see a
guys? It's
pathway
your
where
man
people
Vickers
think about
Moscow over
companies.
here at
So
SelectCon
what started on the iPhone
005,
now
Chapter 2 by
eventually you're going to be able to go
UnitedMasters.
on your app
And
and
right
buy
now,
stock in UIL,
Ally is
right? Like a
presenting it.
publicly traded company, multi-billion
Building Your
dollar
Brand, a
valuation. It's
discussion with
extremely
Elliot
important.
Wilson
Out of
and Earn Your
6,000
Leisure,
stocks
Troy
on the stock
Millings, and
market, six
Rashad
of them are
Bilal.
black-owned companies.
So, here you go.
Wow.
And,
So we're still having
let y'all see what's
conversations
going on
about
real
trivial
quick.
things that mean very little in the grand scheme of life, right? But if we really look at it, the game is being played on such a high level, and that's done purposely. Because if they can keep you distracted with these meaningless conversations, then the meaningful conversations you'll never even want to be a part of because you'll never have enough information to even aspire to that. So part of our responsibility is to provide the information, but part of your responsibility is to actually act on the information. That's important.
Yeah, and it's important. If you think about it, you ask why. If we didn't talk about it, who would? Like, I didn't go to school and see people that looked like me that were making successful careers in business in my textbook, right? If I didn't, it wasn't a magazine that I was reading Double XL. I was reading the source. You know what I'm saying? Like, Black Enterprise showed us what it is to be in business. They showed us that you could be an exec, but a lot of times they didn't show us that you could be an owner, right? And so it's important that we highlight Junior Bridgman. It's important that we highlight Don Peoples. It's important that we highlight Robert Smith as well, because these are aspirational tasks. And even if you're not at that level, there's so many jobs and tangible things that you can do inside of it. But we have to start looking at these people and put value in these people now. And not just them, but the younger adults and teenagers who have those type of interests, right? The kid who wants to code and the kid who wants to create his own AI product, we don't hoard around him, right? We hoard around the kid that's going to make it to the NBA. We hoard around the kid that's going to go to the NFL. We don't look at them the same. All right, that kid's mad smart. Good luck. Make sure you don't get no fights, right? We should be saying, like, how do we make sure that this kid has the right network? How do we make sure this kid has the right resources so he can develop into the talent that can create something that can change the world, right? So when we're talking about, in our community, we're talking about why is the trade king and now with Lil Yachty. Mark Zuckerberg is trying to, eradicate the world from disease. Elon Musk is trying to go to Mars. Jeff Bezos, they're leaving the planet. And we're talking about why is he hanging out with Lil Yachty? We gotta really start taking what's happening around us serious, because if we don't become a part of the solution, we're always gonna be the problem.
Is that your advice to kind of young content creators out there to not kind of get distracted by kind of that daily foolery and look at what's really more important and what lanes are open to create?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody has a different type of platform, so everybody's not going to be on the leadership, and that's okay. But when you're creating your platform, just understand that you have a media company, and there's responsibility that comes with being a media company and providing media. So if you're producing content that is detrimental, then that's something that you have to be able to live with. But ultimately, it's not something that's helpful, and it's only going to lead to a perpetual state of poverty for our people. So if you're only talking about celebrity gossip and what Jada Pinkett said about Will Smith, then you're complicit in the destruction of what is currently going on. Like you said, this isn't a fantasy. NASA already put out a study. They plan on building homes on Mars in 2040. So this is world that's actually being built outside of our world. So outside of just financially, you'll be in a rat race forever, but just physically, you're going to be left. Like literally, you're going to be left. So I think it's extremely important for us to fully understand technology has empowered everybody. When you look at artificial intelligence, you can't run from it. It's something that you have to embrace. Artificial intelligence is only going to get bigger and more scale. So it's giving you an opportunity to become a millionaire. It's giving you an opportunity to level the playing field. Like I said, we're perfect examples of that. We didn't start with much. We didn't start with anything, actually. So to be able to grow a multi-million-dollar media company with a variety of different verticals in 5 years off of an iPhone and an idea, yeah, that's impressive, but it's not about us, it's about you. So if we can do it, then what are you doing? Because it's not like we're preaching about something that is a theory or we did in a textbook. We actually did it in real life. We never had a job in this. We didn't get past the long through gatekeepers. We didn't work our way up the corporate ladder. We didn't ask celebrity friends for help. These are things that we actually did with no information, no knowledge at all. So if we're able to do it, everybody's able to do it as well. So imagine if, okay, we do it in media, but imagine somebody did it in tech, imagine somebody did it in this area, imagine somebody did it in sports. Now we start to build a whole new ecosystem, right? So this Black Wall Street idea is, there's never gonna be a Black Wall Street again. Black Wall Street is something that is past. We don't need a new Black Wall Street, but we need a new way of thinking, right? We don't live in a society where we actually have to buy bread, and that's something that's still a low level. We need to create billion-dollar companies on the tech side that can revolutionize and change the world. We need to have more companies on the stock market. We need to have $100 million ideas. These are things like when we watched the movie and he was talking to Mark Zuckerberg and he was like, $1 million is cool. What's cool? 100 million. Now it's like $1 billion. Like, if you're not thinking about $1 billion idea, you need to go back to the drawing board because you're thinking too small.
Yeah, and add to that, it's about that $1 billion, you can clap for that. Yeah. It's about looking at scale, right? So when we're talking about technology, these things are scalable. If you look in our communities, the business that we create, hair salons, barbershops, restaurants, great businesses, are they scalable? It's tough, right? If you don't show up to the job, can that job work? Can that field work? And most of the times it can't. So we gotta start thinking ahead. Rather than planning for 5 years or 10 years, you look at the wealthiest families, they plan for hundreds of years, right? And that's how they're looking, right? When we're talking about eradicating disease, they're looking 80 years in advance. And so we gotta start looking like that. But the last thing I'll say is that the language is important. And this is hip hop, right? Like this is hip hop. And it goes back to, Jay, when he's like, who's the best MCs, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas? At the time, he wasn't in the conversation, he was going into existence. And so when we say that we're not calling it a podcast, it's a show, it's very intentional. When we say we're the biggest, it's very intentional.
When you leave it, baby.
That's the name drop. It's very intentional because we're walking in that path where we want to make y'all see it in real time. And so when it happens, it's like, oh, they always say that about me. Right? This is faith because it's happening in real time.
In real time, I think we got a surprise guest. He's here, the commissioner himself. Oh, okay. Big dog, man. Ernest, you the biggest. What's the biggest reason now? Make some noise for Steve Styles.
So sad.
You're clapping up that way, Wilson, y'all.
Yeah. Make some money. That's a lag in the girl like. Thank you. Well, you stay.
Nah.
They play musical chairs with him. Sal, what's up, man?
What's going on, brother? We missed you at Investors. Let's go see you there.
We'll do next year.
Yeah.
You're 20,000. You really
2001, my brother.
So listen, that's a lot to talk about. I want to talk about the future of creators. This is UnitedMasters, and your whole journey is to empower musicians, empower artists. And we're seeing artificial intelligence. We're seeing music sales decline. We're seeing people that can't go on tour.
Word to Juicy J.
It's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty in your business, music business. What is the state of music and where do you see it going?
First of all, this whole thing about like sales and shows for hip hop artists to me is being completely misconstrued. We're dealing with a festival culture now. Festivals are selling like crazy. The artists are selling out festivals, the same hip hop artists that they're saying can't do shows. Streaming numbers are not necessarily equating into selling tickets at shows. So you stream a lot, but yet they're not buying the tickets, but they are buying, Governor's Ball and all of the other festivals that go along with it. The artists have to decide, like, are they gonna go on tour and just do arenas? Or are they gonna realize that they should do arenas in some markets, amphitheaters in other markets, smaller venues in other markets? Just because you're a big artist, whether you're Little Dirk or whoever it may be, doesn't mean that you can sell out arenas everywhere. And a lot of artists are going out there prematurely trying to sell out arenas before it's time. But it has nothing to do with the popularity of hip hop. That's the unfair part of it. I look at hip hop and I always think about hip hop and the cultural influence that it has. The cultural influence that it has an all-time high. everywhere around the world. So when you look at that metric, you're like, everything is fantastic. And that's how I see it.
So in the age of independence, and we're talking about it from a business standpoint, but even from an artist standpoint, the opportunities to build with brands now become something that's very unique. Like artists can actually approach brands. What is some advice that you can give in that aspect, and what are you seeing that how the brands are now approaching this new age of independence from the artist side?
Well, I talked about this a while ago, that artists are, all artists, no matter how big you are, small you are, as far as audience is concerned, you're mini media channels. You have an audience, and brands want to tap into you to influence your audience. That's exactly what ESPN does. It's exactly what everybody else does, right? They tap into you, but you have to be brand ready. So I asked Drewski this: how are you preparing yourself to be prepared for all of the money that they want to give you in order to tap your fans? Are you prepared? Is your brand prepared? Are you ready? Do you understand the team you need to be able to maximize the opportunity that you have in front of you? And I speak to all creators that exact same way. Are you prepared? Are you ready? Are you putting yourself in position knowing the ball is about to come your way? Outside of sports, linear television is not working. That's not where advertisers are putting their money. They're looking to put their money behind influencers. Influencers being artists, bloggers, podcasts, whatever it may be. How are you preparing yourself to be ready for that opportunity? Because if you're just taking it not seriously and you're just doing your thing, that's how unseriously they're going to take you.
So what would be the things, right? If we're talking about, are you brand ready? Because I know there's people in here that are taking notes like, well, what are the necessary steps that I have to take to make sure that I am brand ready for that? When that opportunity comes, I can hit it out the park.
But I think you can answer that question. And the reason why I met you guys 3 years ago. I met you 3 years ago. I pulled up to the house. It was kind of, LA. It was kind of suspect. It was a suspect Airbnb. That's a fact.
It was a good house. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It was a nice house.
It was a
Very nice
nice house. Now the area might have been a little.
Okay, hold on.
The vibe.
In totality, I was concerned.
For yourself or us?
All of us. Okay? But at that point in time, exactly what you manifested today. You said, yo, we're going to teach financial literacy like rock stars. Selling out arenas, selling out shows. I first found out about you guys through Kevin Hart. And everything you said you were going to do, you did. But when I first met you, you were on your way. How did you become brand ready?
I think we became brand ready by just being authentic to who we were, making sure that we maintain a connection with our audience, because that's important, right? We were able to move the audience, and we still are able to move the audience and move culture in ways that no other financial institution or brand can. So, advertisers ultimately, they want to connect with audience. So that I think that we fit the part as far as the look.
Yeah.
We doesn't hurt. It could be worse. I think that we are able to articulate ourselves pretty decently, and I think that we're pretty safe in regards to our brand. We're not like super controversial, but we follow that thinnest slice. Remember you told about the thinnest slice? Absolutely. We follow the thinnest slice strategy. Mm-hmm. And we have good infrastructure. I'll let you talk about the infrastructure.
I was going to talk about consistency, which is something that people lack. Like when people are always trying to look for the formula for success, it's always been our consistency. Every day, they know that what they're going to get from us. And if you do something consistently on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, especially for your audience, you become a part of their daily life. And so once you become a part of somebody's daily life, then brands are going to notice, because they're looking at it like, who has the audience, who has a demographic that I'm looking to reach. And for us, we know our demographic very well, and the brands know it very well. And so they're figuring out, how can I work with them to tap into their audience? And so I was going to say consistency. You want to do infrastructure?
Well, last thing, we have good people in place that actually follow up, answer emails, set Zoom calls. Shout out to our staff, AB, and everybody. So that's important as well, because if you get email, then you don't respond to the email, or if you have a Zoom call and you miss the Zoom call, you have to be very professional. So I think that's extremely important.
So you guys, the question to me was, to tell everybody out there and everybody who's on the live stream, we're 200,000 plus on the live stream.
Congratulations.
That, you know, how you get brand ready. And you said it, man, follow up, consistency, understanding your audience, not safe to the point that you're saying things that you don't mean, but saying everything that you mean in the most respectful way, that's honest, and you're not crossing the line of vulgarity and making that point. Those are the things that you need. Those are the basic ingredients that you need to be brand ready. And when I first met you guys, rather than the last 2 years, we've been partners, and we work with brands because you were brand ready. And I think there's a lot that people can learn from Earn Your Leisure on your journey and how you became ready and open for business.
Appreciate that. Well, I want to talk, let's stay in this vein. You're the guy that is famous for bringing hip hop culture to corporate America, right? You do the Allen Iverson, Reebok deal.
Hold on, nobody claps for that? That's crazy. Like, damn. It's a tough clap.
I act like it's an everyday thing.
It's not an everyday thing.
So you Nas and Sprite, a variety of different things that you've done, right? Jay-Z, Reebok, right?
All of it.
All of
Push
it.
to McDonald's.
All of it.
Everything. So, how, even now, you have Translations, which is an arm of your company that works for corporate. How are you able to approach corporate and get them to buy in and believe? That's not easy. These are things that we're still trying to figure out. How are you able to go to McDonald's, pitch the idea, and get McDonald's to invest millions of dollars into a campaign?
So in the beginning, it was extremely difficult. And it wasn't difficult for me, it was difficult for the art form itself to be taken seriously as something that brands could put and invest money into. They didn't think the art form was brand ready, to be completely honest with you. So knocking on doors, trying to get, for me, it was Jay-Z at the time. He was the artist that was spearheading, I thought was moving the culture forward, and that we should be able to do deals with. And even with him, when you look back at it in hindsight, it's ridiculous, but it was extremely difficult. They didn't want to be in business, they didn't trust X, Y, Z. And what I realized was that I had to build a very quality team of extremely intelligent people that could take my ideas or our ideas and package them in a way that they were used to understanding. And Translation, in the company we have today, we still approach things first with strategic lens. If you look at our strategy decks, if you look at the way we actually package the work and package the idea, the first thing we're trying to do is solve a problem. We're trying to solve a business problem. No different than McKinsey or Bain or any of these big consulting companies do. We first solve the strategic problem, and then with strategy, and then we apply a creative solution to that, so that we articulate the solve through a creative idea. You know, it could be creative that you see on television or digital creative, or it could be an experience, or it could be a product that we invent. Whatever it is, but it first starts with the strategy. And it took many, many years to be able to get the credibility in the space to not only convince the brands, but to hire the people that could do that. And that's what we built the company on today. So it was never easy. And by the way, whether it's an artist for a campaign or whatever it may be, the same protocols apply. The same diligent, strategic protocol applies. And if you look at our work, you know, we can tell you how we got to the answer through a very structured, thought, rational process of strategy.
But even now, when you talk about the level of success that you've had, is it still a fight at times with different brands? Because, I mean, for us, like you said, we're still navigating that landscape, dealing with brands, having a fight, trying to prove ourselves, but also maintaining those healthy relationships with brands. And so now it's not just a one-year deal, it's a multi-year deal. How do y'all navigate through that?
We've been doing it, man, for 19 years now. And a lot of it becomes reputational. People do business with people who they want to do business with. That's just the unfortunate reality of it, right? You develop a good reputation, people want to do business with you. And then that creates a contagious effect. where people trust you, you get written about, you start winning awards, then other people want to hire you because they know they'll do good, they'll look good hiring you as a result of it. So it just becomes this snowballing effect. That's where we are today. We have the tailwinds behind us because after 19 years of success, we're finally in a position where we're getting most opportunities and creating multi-year relationships. We've been with State Farm for 14 years. We've been with the NBA for 10 years. We've been with AT&T for 5 years. We've been with Ally for 4 years. These are, and then some of the people there I've known for 15 plus years. So when you're in the game long enough, especially in this brand game, you gotta have good, healthy, long-term relationships. And what keeps those relationships strong is delivering on your word, consistency, follow through. Those are the things that they respect and what creates the opportunity for repeat business.
You've had a lot of successful campaigns. I mean, I can think of a bunch of them in my head right now. Is there one that sticks out to you that you're most proud of, or in your highlight? I mean, you've won awards obviously for them, but is there one that's like, this is the one that was my favorite to be a part of?
It's always going to be, for me, the Allen Iverson Reebok campaign. It's going to be that for me because that's the one that everybody said you could never do. Why would how could you, why could you, how is that going to sell sneakers? It was all the naysayers that was pushing back. And why are you going to make a commercial that looks like a music video? And I'm like, because that's what the audience actually wants. And hiring Hype Williams and Jadakiss and AI, everything that we did to make that was the perfect thing for me because I was transitioning from the music business to the advertising business at that point in my career. And I was trying to make something that people in the music business would look at and be like, oh, that's what he does. Oh, that's fire. That's gonna make a difference. And we've done so much great work that I'm really proud of, but none of that will affect me the way that changed my career. It gave me confidence that I could do this. And that's something that you can never, replicate.
It's crazy. He was just named vice president of Reebok yesterday.
So your name of your company is UnitedMasters, and you guys are real big on independent artists maintaining their music masters, right? We did an interview with Simba. Shout out to Simba. You know him?
Yeah.
Dope artist. He said something that was a little controversial on our show, and he said that he doesn't own his masters, and he said he's not really too concerned about owning his masters right now because his #1 objective is to just get his music out there, and he wants to get his name bigger. And he was like, what's the point of owning your masters if they're not worth anything anyway?
That's controversial? That doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, that's why it's controversial. What's your thoughts on that?
Nah, man, that's short-term thinking.
There's a lot of people. I don't want to just there's a lot of people like him.
I know. I've heard record company people say that, and I've heard artists say that. Everyone who says that don't own it. People who don't own homes tells you renting is the shit.
But the biggest artists in the world don't own their masters, right?
No.
At one point.
Well, early on, what happens is one of the things that takes place is you're an artist, you came in the game years ago, and you fulfilled your obligation. It was a 7-album commitment or something, 7 projects. So now you finished and you're about to leave. You could be a free agent. And then what they tell you is the following. If you stay, we'll give you X amount of dollars, and then we'll give you back the first album you did. So now you're stuck. Because you actually love the first album you did, that's your baby. And the only way for you to get ownership of it over time is to stay in the same relationship with your initial contracting partner. So that's how you get stuck in those relationships long term, because at the end of the day, they're just giving you back something that, you gave to them, which is your intellectual property that you were born with, your creativity, your image, your likeness, your name. So that's how you get stuck in that cycle. Then you have the artists that are like, I don't care about all that, I'm bouncing. Artists like Usher, right? Usher is gone. Usher is now an independent act. Usher's the first independent act that's playing the Super Bowl. Usher's, that's right. You know, he didn't stay in the system in order to get confessions. He left the system and said, I'm gonna make the next version of that. You know, because he wanted to be free. He wanted to be free. Everybody asks me questions like, yo, can you believe Nas is on this run right now, making all these albums, 6 albums in 3 years, because he's creatively free. He's independent. He owns his music. He doesn't have anybody to report to but the mirror. It's an unbelievable feeling. And when you're a creative and you have that level of freedom, nothing but great things are going to come out of it because of that. Because that's exactly the ingredient you need to make great work. You need creative freedom. And record companies, for the most part, when they constrict you with, timelines and contracts and the fact that you don't own it, it creates a sense of bitterness over time.
But there is some advantages of being on a label, right? Because it's like the push that Drake is on a major label, right? 21 Savage is on a major label. Lil Baby's on a major label. We don't see any independent artist that has reached that level of success. So there has to be some level of marketing benefit from those major corporations that the independent has still yet to be able to accomplish.
I think we're in the early stages of independent artists. These artists have 10 years that you're talking about. Over a period of time, they've built that level of audience and that kind of thing. I love, for instance, he's not as big as them at all, but an artist like Russ, I love what Russ is doing. Russ is making a lot more money than a lot of signed artists. I can tell you that right now. And he's on his way, and there's nothing stopping him from becoming great in a household name, except time and putting out more music, which he's doing, and that's going to create that opportunity. I can't tell you anything very specific at this point in time, honestly, what a major label does outside of give the artist money up front. I don't see another thing that they provide that is not replaced or cannot be replaced by anybody else. I have the same relationship with Apple, if not better than they do. I have the same relationship with Spotify that they do. That's where it's coming from. And the rest of it is, I believe, does radio matter to a certain extent? Social media is the new MTV. So I'm not sure how this plays out over time where they maintain that position that with us, you become ultimately bigger. Because what no one talks about is all the big artists, or all the artists that signed to a major label that has failed. That never comes up. Now, how many failures do they have?
A lot.
A lot. No one talks about that.
So this is interesting. So how does UnitedMasters define success when we're talking about independent artists? Is there a metric, or is there an analytic that you look to see this person's top? Because we watched in Austin, Texas, B.S. Blood go from 1 year being somebody that nobody knew to now closing out the show. I'm sure there was metrics and certain things that he reached inside that demographic that you said, all right, this guy's buzzing. What are those things that UnitedMasters looks at?
The first thing that we can look at is the acceleration, how fast something is accelerating. So it's not, the growth over time is fantastic, but when it goes from 1 to 5, or like 5 to 20, when you see that, they call it the second derivative, but when you see that acceleration,
hockey stick.
yeah, whenever you see that, and the acceleration of that, we measure that. That's very important because that's when you see that something is gaining traction. We had an artist, he had a song called Painting Pictures, artist Superstar Pride. And he put out a song October 2022, and every day it's doing, nominal numbers of streams. October, November, January, then on February 6th, it went from 3,000 streams a day, which was normal what it was doing, from 3 to 9, 9 to 35, 35 to 100, and we just seen it accelerating. We ended up signing him. It was a major label bidding war. He turned down $3.5 million to stay with us, and we had a #1 record with him. But that's how fast it changes. Like, it was doing 3,000, 3,000, then it went 3 to 9, 9 to 30, 30 to 100, gone. something took place. And then you start trying to track, well, what happened? What created the moment? This wasn't a TikTok dance challenge. It was literally something on TikTok where people commented on his haircut. And they were playing the music behind the memes of his haircut. And boom, the song took off. So you gotta have, now, what that tells us is what kind of technology you need to build, what kind of analytics you need to have, or analysts you need to have on your team in order to recognize that in real time. Because that's where the juice is, that's where the action's taking place.
So you actually saw that, somebody on your team actually.
100%.
They said, get Sal on the phone. Get Sal on the phone
So
right
you-
now.
Nah, you know what? They don't even have to get started on the phone no more.
They know it.
They know it, they see it.
So, speaking of technology, artificial intelligence. So I don't know if you saw, we posted yesterday about this, a law that somebody proposed in Congress to actually stop people from using people's vocals on records. It's getting even bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah.
Producers, Timbaland, he did a whole Biggie song. People using people's vocals, they're using it to create beats. How do you see this playing out, and how is this gonna hurt or benefit artists?
The way I look at artificial intelligence and the reaction to it is no different to me than the reaction Hollywood had when the VHS tape came out, or the reaction when initially the reaction when the phonograph came out, that was going to disrupt the music business. New technologies always immediately creates this reaction where people get scared and nervous, you know, because somebody can make an artificial intelligence version of the Drake and the Weeknd, and it becomes a temporary success. And everybody goes, well, that's the future of the music business. Well, no, that's not true. What I do believe is going to happen is once you get past the panic, you actually realize that artificial intelligence can actually be very helpful in helping separate the clutter from the stuff that's actually really good. When you lean into the technology and you use the technology to help the creators get more creative, then we're talking about something that's, you know, illuminating somebody who's already created this to do more. But if you automatically sit back and get nervous about it and go in panic mode, you're gonna just be one of these people who are not gonna really look at how that technology could be beneficial to your artist or beneficial to your movie studio. Part of what they're fighting for right now in the SAG and AFTRA and Hollywood strike is artificial intelligence. Because the question is like, you know, if you were making Shrek, do you need Eddie Murphy's voice to play the donkey if you could use artificial intelligence to be that voice? And like, they're gonna figure that out in law that you can't like own that voice or that tone, or they're gonna have to sort that out. And the actors are obviously fighting for it. But once they get past that, then you can actually look at how we could use that technology in order to empower creatives in different industries. That's how I feel.
It's interesting because they just said that the news article on the deep fake, and so forget the animation part, they could actually use the person's face. So that's going to be a lawsuit in itself too. We're on the 50th year of hip hop, which is interesting, right? It makes me think of, yeah, shout out to hip hop.
Yeah.
Sal, I'm gonna put you on the spot, man. You come from the world of business. Big said we never thought that hip hop would take it this far. We proved that. What are some of the best business deals that you've seen in hip hop in the past 50 years?
The best business deals. Well, I think, there was a couple of record company sales that I thought were very important. Like, I think just building Cash Money, the way they built that company and the fact that they've kept on taking and getting money from Universal in that partnership while they maintained ownership was a very successful sort of business deal. I think what Jay's done with LVMH is phenomenal. Selling Ace of Spades and maintaining a partnership with Ace of Spades with the finest luxury brand in the world is absolutely insane. I mean, that's the pinnacle of, LVMH is the pinnacle of luxury. To have a champagne that you know, and you just take the story arc of, you know, the CEO of Cristal saying, I didn't make it for them, right? That really happened. And then, what, 15 years later, LVMH is making it for them. You know, I think that's incredible. And you definitely got me on the spot here. I think a lot of, you know, I think what we've done, man, honestly.
I thought that was gonna be the first thing.
I think, you know, being able to go in corporate America and kicking down that door for real and getting artist opportunities with Fortune 500 companies is something that will never be forgotten. And I know my responsibility when I was doing that. And I'm very proud that wherever I go around the world, I'm associated with that idea, that I was the person who did that.
All right, Jimmy. Speaking of this, my last question before we end, I gotta ask you about, you know, we actually have a business together called Earn Your Masters. That was actually a very intelligent business move on your behalf as well. Very savvy. What's your thoughts on the Earn Your Masters franchise, and how do you see that evolving?
I told you before, man, I think we should go on the road. I think we should take that, I think what you provide in financial literacy and education, and the opportunity that we provide young artists and young creators to take and build education, take that master classes around education, financial literacy, because, you know, as you know, man, all right, you got the opportunity now, you made some money. Now what's next? We know a lot of people have made money and have gone broke because they didn't know what the right first thing to do, and there was nobody there to tell you what to do so that you could have the proper guidance to build a career and know where to invest your money and know how to spend it correctly, what have you. So to be able to take our platform and, you know, the artists that we have and the educational credibility that you guys have around financial literacy and earn your masters and take that on the road, I think we should definitely do it. I think we can take it all around the world. And I'm not saying that just because we're on the stage in front of these people in the live stream. I'm saying that because we spoke about that before, actually. And I think it's something that we could do. And, you know, I can get the sponsorship in place so we can do it, so we could just get silked out and go take it around the world and see what we do.
Silked out.
Silked out.
Going with style. Silked
Make some noise for the commissioner, Steve Stout, ladies and gentlemen.
Johnny Nunez is here.
Johnny Nunez.
Let's get a photo real quick right over here.
Right here, right here. Sure.
Everybody, please give it up for the Commissioner Steve Stout, Troy and Rashad from Earn Your Leisure, and of course the GOAT, Elliot Wilson. Thank you guys for that incredible panel. So much knowledge. Are you guys having a good time? All right, are you soaking up the knowledge? All right. Well, for those of you who are just arriving, because I see we have a packed house, my name is TT from Tap In with TT on Hot 97. You can catch me weekdays 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., so make sure you guys tap in and download that app and listen to me live every weekday, Monday through Friday. Don't forget, if you haven't, make sure you guys check out Bullet's 100 Hours on the Road. You can get direct access to mentors from UnitedMasters to help you master the music business right now. There are people there that have amazing knowledge on this independent thing, just like the Commissioner Steve Stout. So make sure you guys, once again, stop by that booth, okay? And for any artist or creative looking for the next collaborator, be sure to check out the Delta Airlines collaboration board. We are building more meaningful connections through Delta Airlines. So if you want to get connected with like-minded people, check out Delta Airlines.